Hello, it's Teresa here. I hope you're all well and you're all safe and happy. I'd like to say a big thank you to the new subscribers. Thank you very much for subscribing. I really do appreciate it. So thank you very much. Once again, I'm really sorry. I have to apologise again for not keeping up to date with Facebook and the comments on YouTube. By the time you see this, I hope that they're up to date. But the summer holiday is just flying away. I'm seeing quite a lot of my beautiful grandchildren and you know, just having a lot of fun really. So I'm so sorry. No, I'm out of touch again. You know, please tell me off and push me along. But I am sorry, but it's always nice to make a video. Now this is going to be a very short video. I hope it's not going to be any longer than maybe 15-20 minutes. Okay, this is an answer to Kath Avalon, who in Facebook, yeah, see, I did read it, Kath, I think it was Facebook. You asked about sewing on paper, and I hope I answered your question there, because if you're still waiting for this answer, my goodness, you know, you've had enough to sew a whole book together. So I hope you saw my reply on Facebook. But anyway, yeah, and then some others. I think Jackie, you might have been one who said, oh yeah, you wouldn't mind knowing how to do this particular thing anyway, you know, as well. So that's what I'm going to do, just a little bit of sewing on paper. And it's no secret, it really isn't any secret whatsoever. There's no special skill. So I'm going to start now. Stop my gabbling. Now the paper that I've used is from my sketch pad. I've taken a page from the back, and this is just bog standard cheap. I don't buy expensive sketch paper. This is just really cheap. Got a computer beside me. Now there is a difference in printing paper. This is slightly thicker. You can hear the click there, the bend, because it's slightly thicker. This one, there's no click there as I'm pulling it over. That is me doing that by pulling it down. So there is a difference in the thickness, but you don't have to have thick paper. If you have whatever paper you have, you can use. Okay, it's just a matter of what you back it with. Now if you're using printing paper, just ordinary paper, oh look, see that, how easy it was to tear that. Now I advise that if you're going to use a fine paper, use a heavyweight iron-on interfacing, a heavyweight. I have used a medium weight on some of my work and lightweight on others. This one, it's a nice thick one because it's from my drawing and sketch pad, but I'm still going to use a heavyweight interfacing on here, and the only reason that is, if you think, oh, that's a thick lightweight one, is because I can't find the lightweight one. If I could, I would use that one here, but I'm going to use the thick one, which is okay. It's just going to make it a bit stiffer. Now this is coffee dyed paper. Now I think if you're wanting to know how to stitch on fabric, that you possibly already know how to coffee dye your paper. Simple, easy peasy. You just make up your coffee, you can splat it on, you can paint it on, you can put the coffee in a baking tray and seep it in. There's many ways you can just cover this, so you can see the difference there. Okay, that's coffee dyed, and I actually ran, if you can see the marks on there, I actually ran it, a brush, I wrapped this around these here, this way, and kept moving it across. I ran a paintbrush over it, which left like an indentation on there. So numerous things you can do to pretty your paper. but we're actually going to sew on the paper. Now, first thing to do, I've put a crease in there. You don't have to do that yet, but I have put the crease in there. Now I'm just going to put down the interfacing like this. Now this is heavyweight, so what I'm going to do is actually put a little bit of Pritt stick, glue stick on it, just to make sure that it really does stick. It doesn't matter if you miss some, because you've already got the glue on the interfacing. I don't want too many big globby bits, because that will just come through the paper. Not come through, but you'll just have lumps on your paper. So I'm just going to turn that over. It's slightly bigger than the paper, and I'm going to push that down like that, and just for good luck, and as you do with vinyl veiling, I'm just going to press it with my teeny tiny little, let's just press it all the way over. Oh yeah, isn't it wonderful? Right, so there we go there. Turn that over, press it down, make sure it's lovely and flat, and I'm just going to trim it just so those edges don't get in the way. So that is now ready for our design. If you're making a journal, then these become pages, alright? But these would be two separate pages, 1, 2, and then you'd back it and you'd have another 2. So these would actually be 4 pages. Start with this page, and I think I could just make a feature here. Now I've got, for the contrast, for our designing elements, I've got a contrast of large and small, like this. Or I could cluster them there. Aha, we might be getting somewhere now. Got a different style there. I'm going to just glue these down as a way of tacking them. Don't want the glue all over them, because if we're going to sew through it, once this dries, it could be difficult to sew through. So just going to tack it in the middle with your, whatever you're doing, just a little bit there, but not all over. Stick that one there. I should have started with the little ones first. That would have been far more sensible, wouldn't it? To cluster these and then work around these. So we have something, it was something like this, wasn't it? You know, it's better to look when I look on the screen, to be honest. It makes more sense. So there we go, up there. Not too near the edge. Up there, or... So there we are. Now I just need to give it time to dry, and that's not going to take very long at all. In fact, I'm going to press it from the back as well with the iron. Now it's dry, it's time to sew it. Now I can't remember if I said, but I've also interfaced the back of the flowers as well. So apart from interfacing the back of the paper, the back of the motif is also interfaced. So now this is ready for sewing. I'm using 2 strands of thread in a short, sharp needle with a small eye. Now because of the size of this eye, and it is very small, I can only get 2 strands of thread in, which is okay, which is good, because anything thicker, needle or thread, is likely to tear the paper. So small thin needle, sharp, to go through the paper easily, 2 strands of thread. And what I probably forgot to say as well is that I have interfaced the back of the motif. All these flowers have been interfaced, okay, so that I hold down now firmly, nice knot in the back of the thread, but be careful you don't pull it through, otherwise that will hold the fabric. And then just going to sew like you normally would. I'll start off with a slow stitch or a running stitch all the way round, and then I know that it's held in place. So all these flowers will all be held down at the moment, I think, with a little running stitch. Now I'm not going to space them too close together because of serrating the fabric. There needs to be a distance between them, otherwise put the holes too close, they're going to tear. The paper may tear, but because it's now been backed, it may not. So I'm going to take the thread up there and around. Now there will come a time when I'm doing this when I will have to crease the paper, but that's okay. You have to crease your paper. Just be very, or take extra care with creasing it, and try not to keep creasing it in the same place, because that will weaken it and it could tear. But I feel quite confident with this heavyweight Vilene that none of that will happen. So I'm going to carry on and do this and see how far I get. I'm not sure whether I will do them all like this. I might change my mind. Might change the colour anyway, because I don't really want them all looking the same. Otherwise I might just as well leave them as they are and not embellish them. Oh my goodness, this is so relaxing. Even the sound of the paper crinkling is enough to send me off to sleep. Oh, it's fabulous. Well, I got a little bit carried away, as you can see. Now, I've had to put this net over these flowers here to stop them falling off, because while I was working on here, they started loosening a little bit, and some of them, I think 2 fell off, and I don't even know if I've put them back in the same place. It was the same with these as well. They kept falling off, so I've put net over those. But having said that, I've used net anyway, as I normally do in my work, to create a depth. If you can see here, I've used it here and around here and over here. It creates a little bit of depth and gives it a dimension, if you like, and it adds a bit of shade as well, and I think it makes it more interesting. Well, back to what you're looking at here. I'm just going to run through what I've done. Now, as you can see by comparing these with these don't look anything like that now, but I can assure you underneath are these, and you could just see some poking out from there. I don't think you can see them anywhere else, but if you look at the shape of this one is that same petal there, and these are, let me see, these are that one, I think, but then I think that one's the same as that anyway. So basically they've been used as templates that I've just appliqued over. I'll start here. I started by putting down orange felt, just little pieces no bigger than my thumbprint. You can see there, just a thumbprint of orange felt, and I've secured that with running stitch, and then the other stitches I've used blanket stitch, chain stitch, another blanket stitch here, which I've woven a thread through. If you look carefully, you might be able to see the blue thread running through the legs of the blanket stitch, the yellow there. Then I've just outlined it with a red running stitch. The center is all straight stitch in purple and green with some French knots, and then a little bit of bling. Must have a little bit of bling on here because it's a journal page, so we can actually go over the top. The same here, the same stitches here, with bling there, gold bling, red bling, red bling, and the same stitches here are over sewing here. The red stitches there, that is over sewing stitch, and I haven't done that stitch on the other two. So the next one I'm going to concentrate on, not these. I want to leave these for a little while, because I just want to consider whether or not to make these in the same style as these, brightly coloured chunky stitches. And I mean, I actually love this. I love this sort of design, this type of textile work. I love this, but I'm not sure if here I need to do something different, so I need time to think. Meanwhile, I've put this over the organza, sorry, not organza, is it, a tulle. I put that over to stop the flowers falling off. Now this one I'm going to treat differently, bearing in mind these will be two different pages, so we will have them like this at some point. Okay, so they're not going to be side by side anyway. I'm going to use machine sewing on here. Now this is all hand, but I'm now going to use the machine sewing to show you that you can also machine sew on here. You don't have to hand sew. Okay, so that's my next step that I'm going to do. But before I do that, I just want to show you the back of this, as I did a little while ago. That is the proof that it has been hand sewn onto card. And if I just pull this away, there you go, there's the card. You can just see there's some stitches there, and there's the iron-on interfacing, which has obviously worked a bit loose because of all the tugging that I've been doing. And if I hold that up, you can see there aren't any tears in that. There's a couple of pinholes where I put the pin in the pin or the needle in the wrong place, but apart from that, no tears. But what I will do is, to make sure they don't wriggle free, I will just going to put a little bit of this, little bit of glue over the here to stiffen the ends, any ends here, to stiffen those so they don't work through the needle holes and end up on the front. So that takes a couple of minutes to dry, and then I'm going to start machine sewing these. finished all the sewing now. The hand stitching's been finished, and also the machine stitching here. I'm just going to go through this very quickly and tell you what I've done here. Now, I've kept the tool, the black tool, on over the flowers. Now, I haven't hidden the flowers this time. You can see them underneath the machine stitching and underneath the tool. So it looks quite different to the flowers over here. In fact, I don't think you would know that these were the same flowers underneath. They look totally different, two different contrasting styles. So the hand stitching one's here, machine sewing here. Now, as you saw on the video, I've done just straight lines of sewing. No, just straight lines of sewing here, and that was straight forward and reversing all the way round, forward and reversing with a long straight stitch. This couching has been held down with a large zigzag stitch around here, and it's given the most lovely texture here. There were a couple of gaps here, one there and one there. Maybe you can see on the screen that I have actually finished that with just a little bit of running stitch. But before I did that, I took the advantage, or the liberty I should say, of popping in 2 sequins just into that little gap there, and they fit in lovely. So that was meant to be. And when the light, and when I move this about, the light catches it. Now the centre, I've done exactly the same round here. These circles here, they've been held down. That's close zigzag, which gives a raised texture, but it hides the wool. This is all wool. The couching is all wool, but it hides the wool there. There are actually 2 strands of wool here. It hides the wool there. So by the time I got here, I decided to open up the zigzag stitch. So that is a wide one, and that's close together. A wide one there. And that is really basically freehand, just free machining. Just a little bit of zigzag there, around there. Now the centres are large sequins with buttons on the top, and I've stuck to the colours that are on the background: blue, yellow, green and red. Now I couldn't find a red sequin, so I've had to use pink, but I don't think it really notices. That is the front of the finished piece there. Now this piece is like a spine, and I've machine sewn that down as well, and that's to give it a little bit of strength, because if you are making a journal, you're going to at some point sew along there, whether you're going to machine sew it, or whether you're going to bind it, or whether you're going to go in and out. You're going to use a needle at some point along there, so we do need to make that strong. And I did notice towards the end, I think if I had carried on a little bit longer, I might have been in danger of ripping or tearing the spine. So that is now nice and secure, and if you can hear that, it's lovely and soft, and that is all sewing on paper. Now if I turn it over, and you can see I've also put a fabric the same size as this. I put some fabric along here on the other side. I've sewn them together, sewn them at the same time, and that gives that just an additional piece of strength. Now the sewing, you can see here with the sewing machine, there are no tears, no rips, no tears. Now I think that's because these zigzag stitches are wide apart. They're not too close. Maybe, I mean, there's no tearing around here either, but maybe if I'd used that the whole time for all the stitching, there might have been a risk of eventually crossing over here more than once and here where the crosses are, and weakening the fabric, the card, causing that serrated effect where we could just tear it. So that has worked really well. I think did I show you the back of this? I can't remember, but there we are. I think I did. So no tears there at all, and I think as well, I'm pretty sure it's also to do with this heavyweight interfacing. So personally, I would be inclined in future when I do this to use a heavyweight and not the lightweight that I recommended or suggested earlier on. I would go for this heavyweight because it's really done well. But if you have calico or some light cotton, you could do this just as easy. It doesn't have to be iron on. You could glue it down. Just glue it down in place with a nice glue stick, not the PVA. That'd be too thick and it would make your paper soggy. So that is finished. Now there's plenty of room here for journaling or further embellishing. Right. Room here for journaling, notes, a bit more embellishing. Depends on your style. I'm leaving mine like that. Now what I did as well, when I finished this, I started another page. So I now have 2 pages for my experiment, shall we say. It's not really, because we've done this before, but 2 pages. Now this one was made exactly the same way as that, only I didn't use a sewing machine. I spent a couple of evenings, well no, not a couple of evenings, I spent time in the living room doing this, and it was so easy to do. And sometimes I get so absorbed I do get carried away. So before I knew it, I had completed that one, and I was starting that. Now this one, you might guess by looking at it that this is vintage. Now if you can remember, some time ago I did a bag, and I think there was something else in a hotel room with some vintage bits and pieces I'd bought in a charity shop while I was away, and I sat in a hotel room and did something like this. These are all from one piece, and it was like a tray cloth, which I cut these out. In fact, I think I used them on another project, I'm sure I did. But anyway, I cut these out, random cuts. Where the red is, where the blanket stitch is, that is where the edges are, and I've just reassembled them and sewn them together with blanket stitch. Now you have to imagine now it's just the pink and the purple flowers. That's all that was on here, with the green leaves and stems. I've added the straight stitches in the middle, all these straight stitches you can see, and all the French knots, all the black French knots and the purple and blue straight stitches. So to be absolutely honest, this didn't take long. Oh, and I went round the yellow straight stitches that was already there just to highlight it. So that really didn't take very long at all. This one, however, took a bit longer. I really enjoyed doing this. Once again, this is a was a motif from a large piece of fabric, and it was just that flower shape. So I backed this with lightweight interfacing and these leaves as well, and applied them, appliqué them to card. See the card and the violin, the interfacing is coming away. Added some running stitch here, the same stitches I used before on the other page. French knots, straight stitches here. Oh, and a feather stitch there. Didn't use feather stitch on the other page. And then here I've added some leaves and a stem in chain stitch, and just a few cross stitches turning into herringbone stitch towards the end. Tiny little bit of sequin there. There's about 4 sequins there. And this straight stitch with French knots and beads. I've put beads on here, and some shiny blingy trim, and I think that is all. So these 2 pages are now complete. Now what I imagined while I was doing this, that I was going to back them like this. Got one here, and I thought in case you want to know how to sew them together, so you've got complete now 4 pages of hand sewn or machine sewn pieces of work. I was going to do this, connect them, attach them. So I'm assuming in my head this is for journalism, for journals. So you open the page and you've got all this, okay, which I will probably carry on with as well. But I've had a change of heart. I don't know whether to back them like this, so I've got 4 pages of sewing on paper, or whether to get some really pretty card like this. I've got this card in all colours, and it's only everyday cheap card, nothing special. You can about 5,000 pieces of cards for £1, one of those sort of jobbies. And I don't know whether to line this with the card like that, obviously cut it to size, and do the same with this one. Quite like this colour. And why I'm thinking about that is because for journaling, would we want more pages? I would still put one in the other. I think could make a signature, maybe put another page in for a whole signature. So when we open it, we've now got this page backed with that for your own work, for your embellishments, or for you to attach paper for your journalism. And then we'll turn the page here, and we've got the same, well, we've got a double page there. But once again, you can add to these in any way you want. And then we turn that, we have that, and funnily enough, that wasn't deliberate, but the colours match. And then the back page. So I'm not too sure at the moment. I think actually I might favour this, because then I could carry on doing this and maybe make a journal, a travel journal maybe, for a holiday that I'm going on later on in the year. Make a nice, put postcards there, tickets, things that I want to save. Yes, I think I'm going to do that. Oh, that was a quick decision. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the 2 pages exactly the same. Doesn't matter which one I start with, but that one can go up there. I'm going to start with this one. Now I want the backing as smooth as possible, so any lumpy bits, look, there's a long bit there on a knot, I'm going to take that off. Oh look, there's another bit there. Now I don't really want to cut the knots off unless they really are bumpy lumpy, because although I'm going to put glue on the back, I don't want to tempt fate and eventually have the stitching come through. This one is a bit more bumpier. So I'm going to cut that off there. yeah, I can feel that it could be a problem there. Luckily there's a lot of thread. So I'm now going to cover both. You could do this with sticky double-sided sellotape. Oops. You can do this with double-sided sellotape, but I actually like this. Now, you don't worry about this too much, this gluing bit too much, because I'm then going to machine sew them around the edge. I thought maybe of putting borders on them, but there's not a great deal of space there. But I put so much glue on this one, I don't need to put it on here. Now I'm going to match up those two creases there. There we go. Now I'm going to leave this on something underneath, something heavy. There we go. Just until it dries, and then I shall machine sew around the edge. I could actually hand sew around the edge. That might look nice, but I don't want to make this too long. So when that's dry, after that's dried, I'm going to trim and then cut, trim all the excess away and then machine sew the two together. I'm going to do the same with this one. Yeah, that's fine. Exactly the same with this one.
Grim history includes its use as a stronghold during the border wars between England and Scotland. Its dungeons and souls still linger with where guests have recorded hearing later of years. During renovations, with remnants, lending credence to the haunting. Another well-known apparition is the...
Now this is finished. This is as far as I'm going with it. I'm just going to show you now, just a quick run through of what I've done and how it's been finished. So the pages have been sewn together with a wide zigzag stitch all the way around the edge here, and all the way around there, and then they've been placed together and machine sewn down here to strengthen it once again, and also to hide the stitching which is underneath. The stitching just started to break up here because the stitch was too close together. Under there it's just a little bit broken, but as soon as I changed the stitch to a long stitch it was fine. So there we are. Now you know how it's all been done. You can see there how easy it is to sew on paper, machine and hand sewing. There's no secrets to it at all. Just remember certain things, like when you're hand sewing, long thin needle, very sharp, 2 strands of thread. Sometimes depending on the needle you can get away with more. It's up to you, it's a personal thing, isn't it? Just back it, just treat it like you would the usual normal fabric. Once you've interfaced the back, then you can treat it with like you would do normal fabric. In this case, you know, I'm not suggesting you make a dress or a pair of pyjamas from it, okay? So, there we are. I think if I were to make this a big project, I would actually put corners here. Some sort of decorative corner. And maybe something here to actually write on. Here and here. So there's an awful lot of things you can do to yours to finish it as well. If you've stayed to the end, thank you very much, and I hope this answers several questions about how to sew on paper, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed, please think about subscribing. It's nice to have you along, and as I said before at the beginning, welcome to everybody, especially the new subscribers. Okay, so I'm eager to get this out now as soon as possible, and once again, apologies for lagging behind again with the Facebook comments or the YouTube comments. Okay, so take care everywhere, everyone. I hope it's safe where you are, and I'll get back to you soon.